Wallace, and I'm a professor in COLT. I work alongside Benjamin and Shyla, and I'm just delighted to be here today. And I'm excited that there's so many people that have joined us. I can see you in our sort of the people window. Just as we're getting started, if you could introduce yourself in the chat window just by identifying the program in which you currently teach or would like to teach in the future, that would be really helpful. And I'll take this moment just to welcome Shyla, who is co-presenting. Shyla?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Shyla Antony. I work in COLT as a learning technology specialist. So I work with faculty to help them integrate technology into their teaching, including videos. So really excited to be in this session with you all. And yeah, looking forward to hearing what you guys do with video.
Thanks so much. So as was mentioned, we're excited to present to you today. I will say there's 3 presenters. We're doing it online. There might be the occasional glitch or delay. We would really appreciate your understanding with this. So first and foremost, I wanted to say welcome. I see some people already adding, Teresa and Joyce, School of Advancement Accessibility, Margot, that's great. Great to have you. It's wonderful to have you here. So today we're going to be focusing on video from a teaching perspective. So we're going to be really looking at optimizing video in our teaching strategies and being really thoughtful about what is effective teaching practices when it comes to video. We will do a little bit of looking at some technical sides of it, but that really is going to be more for IT. So if you need direct support on how to work a link or something like that, that's very technical and would be with IT. We're going to be focusing more on the pedagogical aspects of using video today. And we'd like this session to be interactive. As Chris was saying, if you have questions or something of that nature, you can put it in the chat box and we'll try to address it. We'll also try to occasionally pause and leave the floor open if people want to use their mic and ask a question that way. So we'll try to periodically stop and do that to make sure your questions are answered. So today's session is on video, and so we thought it made sense that we'd actually share a video and kick it off with a video. So we're going to be looking at sort of the power. This video illustrates 2 aspects: the power of synchronous learning and the power of video as it is a video. So what I'd like us to do is we're going to look at this video, and while you're watching it, consider the impact it has on you as an individual and as an instructor, and what ways might you see this or aspects of this working with your own students and your own class. So how we're going to do this is we're going to be sending out a link in the chat box. So you'll have to access that link in the chat box, and it'll open a new window and you watch that video. After watching the video, please come back to the room and share your impression of the video or the impact the video had on you. So again, we're sending out the link now. If Shyla has just sent it out there, watch the video and then come back and we'll reconvene and discuss the video. So it's about 3 minutes long, so please go ahead and do that. Hi all. I see that a number of people are returning back. For those of you who just joined the session, your computers weren't frozen. We actually asked people to watch a brief video, and now we're coming back to discuss it. So welcome those of you who've just arrived. For those who have returned, I see there are some comments that they found the video to be very interactive and powerful for distance learning. It made them smile. So it did have an impact, and that was sort of the thrust of this, to understand the power of video and the emotional impact. So video not only can tap into an intellectual capacity for us and be around content, but it can also tap into emotional impact, and it's a very powerful tool. So we're going to be looking at and exploring this further on how people can connect online and how video can help do that and create meaningful relationships and connections. Yes, I see Debbie say empathy and connection. So absolutely. So thank you for watching that. So we're going to get into the session now. I'd like to just talk a little bit about the outcomes of our session. So they're a little bit ambitious considering the time we have, but we're really concerned with looking at outcomes and how they relate to videos. We want to be able to give you some advice and ideas around how do you find appropriate videos for your course that will work well. How you might create your own videos, some strategies to keep in mind. We'll talk a little bit about embedding video and also talk about how students might be able to use video or leverage that in their classroom. So there's a lot of outcomes there, but I just want to stress we were not going to disappear. So myself, Aaron, and Shyla are around. So if you have follow-up questions, feel free to email us. We can connect via GoToMeeting or Zoom on one-to-one, and also IT support is around should you want support, more technical support. We'd be happy to help you there. So let's talk about using video. I think the first question you have to think about is why? Why do you want to use video? What's the purpose? How will it impact your students and yourself? So you really want to think about video and how it relates to your discipline, how it relates to your course, how it's furthering those outcomes, and how will it impact your students. And also your attitudes and perspectives on video as well need to be considered. So there's a lot of reflection there that needs to occur. I think a good spot to begin is always outcomes. So you're going to look at your course outcomes and you're going to look at your lesson level outcomes and consider, will they be bolstered or supported through video? Will they assist students in acquiring tangible knowledge, skills, and behaviors? Will videos be able to do that? And so it's important to consider the language of your outcomes when you're looking at your videos. So for example, those outcomes might inform the videos you select. So what I mean by that is if your outcome says something like, learners are to describe a principle, maybe your video is very knowledge focused. It's a sort of talking head and it's content based. However, if your outcome speaks to more of an analyze a principle or something of that nature, the video might show certain problems or a scenario where there's issues, and students will need to analyze it to actually figure out where a problem might be. Again, if your outcome says something like evaluate, perhaps the video you show will have multiple perspectives and views, and the student must judge the video and come to some conclusion. So the video will be used in different ways. As well, you need to consider what work students will be doing and interacting with this video. So will they be watching this video and then they are quietly reflecting or doing a quiz? Or is the video used as a means to bolster transformation so that it will foster discussion, much like we did in the earlier video at the beginning? It was a great jumping off point to have more discussion. Or thirdly, will students be using video from the teacher to get various feedback from that teacher? That's also a consideration. So once you have a good idea of the outcomes you're using and how it connects, the activities connect and how video might be used, you're going to want to start to think about structuring your lesson. So what I mean by that is you don't want to have a scenario where you find a video and you just sort of plop it down and tell students to watch it, or a series of videos, they just have to watch it. They need some context built there. They need to understand why they're watching it, how it's relevant, and they need to have some guidance when watching it, maybe some questions, helping them focus in on certain aspects of the video. And then lastly, they need to have some moment after the video sort of to reflect on their learning and perhaps discuss with others. So like any learning activity, you need to set it up and you need to have those pieces there. Otherwise, the learning might falter. So a good structure usually is sort of introduction and relevance, ongoing questions, and then a reflection piece. So a good example is much like we had at the beginning with the video. I talked about why we're watching the video. We had some questions while we watched that video, and then we reflected back. This image on the screen here is TED Ed. Maybe some of you are already familiar with TED Ed. So that's a series of talks on various issues. TED Ed is a free web-based platform that allows you to bring in any of the TED Ed videos and apply a learning structure to them. So you can see on the right-hand side, it's watch, think, dig deeper, discuss. So that's how the lesson will be structured. So students would have a bit of context established at the beginning with some questions they would think about. Then they would watch the video and answer questions, and then finally they would engage in an integrated discussion board that's on the platform. So if you're not familiar with TED Ed, it's a great place to get some lessons built really quickly using video, and that students will learn from. Again, it only uses TED Ed videos, so if you can't find videos that are applicable to your discipline, you can create your own structure on eCentennial that follows that sort of intro questions during watching and reflection piece to still have that scaffolded learning that's so important. I think we will go to the next slide here, and the idea is around, so we have a good basis now of looking at our outcomes, how to structure our learning a little bit. The question is, besides TED Ed, where do I find videos? How can I find videos that work for me? So we are offering you a couple of sites here. There are many on the internet, but you might want to have a look here. So we've posted a few. So where might you find educational videos? Because that's really what we're looking for. So obviously YouTube, you can search around YouTube and find those videos that really speak to your discipline. Another site, a free site, is TeacherTube, for those of you not familiar. It's really a teacher-based platform created by teachers for teachers. A lot of the videos have already created lesson plans that you can use. Now the focus is a little bit on K to 12, but they do have some advanced material as well, so it's worth looking into. Khan Academy. Khan Academy is a very, very popular site concerning the education of math and mainly hard sciences. So basically how this site works is it has a lot of videos around solving problems. So it offers worked solutions to problems. So for example, if you're a math student studying quadratic equations, you would go to Khan Academy, you would type that in, and a video would pop up walking you through calculations of quadratic equations. So you would receive a step-by-step voiced over explanation. So it's very useful. It's proven very popular in the States. It's integrated to a lot of school curriculum and actually feeds into the flipped classroom model where students learn about the basics of this math and science through Khan Academy, and then they come to class and they do further problems with their peers and the teacher and receive direct feedback that way. So if you haven't heard of Khan Academy or checked it out and you teach math or sciences, I really recommend you have a look at that. We also talked about TED Talks there. So I think we covered that one. Edutopia, I've added that. That's more a resource video site for teachers on teaching for school administrators and for teachers. It's created by George Lucas. So he does stuff other than Star Wars, and he's done this site that's of benefit you might want to check out. Again, it's free. Google Video. So a lot of people go to Google, but you know they also have a Google Video section. So like Google Scholar, they have Google Video. And if you simply type in educational : and then your discipline, chemistry, physics, Google will bring up a number of videos around that particular discipline. So it's a great resource to find videos. And lastly, the Centennial Library. A lot of people don't know, but the Centennial Library has an enormous amount of video resources, streaming platforms, and they buy licenses and memberships to a number of educational video sites. And they've actually grouped a lot of their information online by school. So they have a section, Video for School of Advancement, or Video for School of Community Health Studies. And that's where all the licenses and videos according to those disciplines reside. So it's really worthwhile going to the Centennial College Library site and checking out the e-resources and the video resources. They also have a streaming service, kind of looks like Netflix, called Canopy. And again, it's free, has a number of documentaries, and you can show your students without copyright infringement or anything like that. I will say with the library as well, the staff there is very helpful. So if you do have a series of videos that you want, you might want to talk to the librarians and they can help you acquire them. Perhaps they can give you some advice or do some purchasing on your behalf. So it's really worthwhile looking into the Centennial College Library and talking to the librarians there. So I think we just looked at where to look. Again, you know, what to look for is up to you, right? So you teach a very specific discipline, and so you're going to have the content knowledge around what makes a good video, what makes a reputable video and authentic and accurate. So I'm not going to give any advice around that. That's according to your discipline. But here are some guidelines you might want to consider on top of that. On top of it being quality content, these are some other elements you want to consider when selecting a video. So first and foremost, captioning. So a number of individuals, just the plain audio of the video is not sufficient. They require subtitles. So look into captioning. On YouTube, usually there's a CC button that you can hit and it captions for you. But other sites, it's hit or miss. So you really want to consider captioning or do the captioning yourself. So you could type up a transcript and post that along with the video, but it can really help a number of learners with closed captioning. So keep an eye on that when selecting video. Copyright. Copyright's a big one. It's really critical that you have the rights to be utilizing the video for your students in your course. Now, just because it's on YouTube, for example, does not give you license to use it. So it's really dependent on who is posting it. So if you want to show Titanic in your class and Paramount Pictures has posted Titanic and say you're free to use it, then you can. But obviously that's not the case, right? So you really need to be sure about who is putting up the video, who has ownership, and do you have the right to share it? Now that can be a really muddy area and confusing. Centennial College has a copyright librarian whose sole function is to help you with this. So if you see the video, you're not sure you're allowed to show it for educational purposes, then contact the librarian and they can help you to see if you have rights to do that. Now, the next one, time-wise. So this is based on some research that found that 6 minutes was the golden amount of time of length of a video. Why is it golden? Because at 6 minutes, you're probably going to get 100% of people watching your video. After 6 minutes, you will see a substantial drop in students completing the video. They actually say that if a video is between 9 to 12 minutes, for example, only 50% of your learners will actually sit around and watch that video. So it's really critical to understand how long you want to put those videos at, and if you have a really long video, to chunk it, as the next point indicates, to sort of break it up into maybe 6-minute bits or have some interactive aspects to the video before proceeding to the next section. Otherwise, you're just not going to get buy-in to your video and people are going to drop out. It's just too long. The next point is around author or sponsor bias. So that's important to consider. When you're selecting a video, sometimes it's actually created, by a company and has an express purpose. Now, if you point that out and you're fine with it and your students are aware, then it should be no problem. But just be conscious of perhaps using a video that at the end promotes something that is not aligned with the school's values, your students, something of that nature. So be particular and be conscious of who is creating the video, who is and what are they promoting, if that's the case. Another point is to have conversational style. So it feels more natural. Students feel more motivated and engaged when utilizing a conversational style. I also recommend, there's a tendency when using video to speak a bit slower, but I would actually suggest speak a little bit faster, and that maintains interest and students will follow along a little bit better and keep them more engaged. The last point here is around active learning. So that is the idea. I talked a little bit about chunking and having some interaction. So what can we do with video? Video is somewhat static. So the idea is we want to have some interactivity to continue engagement with learners, but how do we do that? So I'll actually, from that point around active learning, pass it on to Erin to talk a bit more about that.
Thanks, Benjamin. And again, welcome everyone. My name is Erin Wallace, and I'm a faculty member in COLT. And I'm going to take a few minutes to just share with you some of my favorite video tools. And Edpuzzle happens to be one of them. It's a really easy to use, intuitive tool. It's free. And with it, you can make any video an interactive experience by embedding questions directly within it. This can be a really engaging way for your students to learn. So with Edpuzzle, you can crop a video, you can lay your voice over top of the video, and as I mentioned, you can create quizzes. You can use any YouTube video at all, or even a video that you've created yourself. One of the things that I really like about Edpuzzle is that students don't need to submit their email addresses in order to create an account. And also you can opt to use Edpuzzle in guest mode for formative assessment purposes. And this way students' responses to questions aren't recorded, but they still receive feedback about the accuracy of their answers. So here I've created a sample video just to give you sort of a taste of this tool. Have a quick look. So there, you can see that in this example, I used a multiple choice question, but you could also insert short answer questions. So there's lots of flexibility here. And again, you can give students feedback about their responses. You can even prevent students from moving on in a video until they correctly answer the questions. Edpuzzle also has a Chrome extension, and by installing this, you will see an Edit on Edpuzzle button beneath YouTube videos. And when you click on this button, it will take you directly to Edpuzzle, where you can begin to edit and personalize that same video. One of the things that I think is really critical in an online course is to infuse it with the warmth of your personality and your presence. And capturing video is a really awesome way to do that. I'd like you to take a few moments just to have a look at this video, which was captured by Mary Vallis, and she's a professor at the Story Arts Center in the journalism program. And Shyla has inserted a link to the video in the chat window. I think the video's 3 minutes in length. So if you could go and have a quick look, and when you come back, insert into the chat window something that you really liked about Mary's video. I can see that some of you have finished watching Mary's video, which is great. And thank you for your comments. Michael Cooper, I totally agree that the video really humanizes the teacher and just shows how approachable and welcoming she is. And I think that students, particularly in an online course, would really appreciate that. Mitra demonstrates the credibility of the teacher. Yes, she really spoke to her own professional experience, which I think students would find very motivating. Georgianazi, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, very informative. She really engages the students. Deborah indicated that it's a terrific intro to students. So I think, creating video can be a time-consuming process, but I definitely think it's worth the effort. The hardest part for me about creating video is just putting myself out there. I sort of feel a little bit awkward. So this takes some practice, and I would encourage you to just sort of test it out and see what you can capture with it. And the most important piece of advice that I have for you would be to remember that it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that it's perfectly okay to make some mistakes, and that might in fact make us seem a little more human and approachable for our online students. As Shyla said, building rapport with students is so important, and video can really help us to do that. Screencast-O-Matic is another favorite tool. With it, you can record anything and everything that is on your screen. So here is just a quick example of a screencast video that I created with Screencast-O-Matic to take students on a tour of my course. You'll see that I haven't included audio just for the purposes of this presentation. So Screencast-O-Matic is a reliable, easy-to-use screencasting tool. With it, you can create videos up to 15 minutes in length, and many faculty across our college have chosen this as their go-to screencasting tool. Michael, you asked a good question about whether or not there's a benefit to using this particular tool, which, by the way, is free. Over a QuickTime movie capture. I use both on my Mac. I like Screencast-O-Matic because it just rests sort of on my desktop. It's quick. I like the way I can pause it and then start again. Just gives me a little bit of time to sort of catch my breath and have a sense of where I'm going next. So I think both are worth exploring, and there are different ways that you can use a screencast. So it could be used to, for example, explain a concept, demonstrate a skill, as I showed, take students on a tour of your course. Some faculty use it to give feedback on assignments. And Benjamin, I know that you do this, so if you could just take a couple of minutes to explain the value that you've seen in offering feedback on assignments via Screencast-O-Matic, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Erin. I do use Screencast-O-Matic quite a bit. I just feel it's easy to use, it's free, it streams, and I use it for some of the same purposes as was mentioned around creating teacher presence. So the first way I use Screencast-O-Matic is I teach an online course, and I like to once a week post a little video that recaps the week's learning and talks about the week going forward. I just feel students like to see my face and hear my voice. I've gotten positive feedback around that they feel it builds rapport and makes a little bit of a connection. So while I might feel uncomfortable making videos, I know it has some worth to students and does benefit them. To the point Erin was talking about, I use it also for feedback. So I found in the past that when I was using written feedback, I would get a paper and I would spend a lot of time writing feedback notes to students, and I would hand them back, and I would see that they would get it, they would look at their mark on the paper and then put the paper in their bag. They would never spend time reading all the comments that I took so long to make. So I thought, oh, I got to change something up. So I decided to start using video to mark assignments and give feedback. So what I would do is I would bring up the document on my desktop and then record the document. And I would go through the document and speak to it. So I'd say things like, in paragraph 2, the argument needs tightening up, or you're missing some evidence. So I would systematically go through the paper and give feedback to students appropriately. I've seen an enormous uptick in people actually accessing the feedback now. They're coming up to me and they're asking me about it specifically. They say the feedback helps put things in context, so they're able to follow along. They understand better what they need to fix, and it's just more palatable to them to watch and listen to the feedback. So I've found that there's enormous gains in using video in that manner to give students feedback. I find that they really appreciate it and like it. And Teresa makes a good point here around Screencast-O-Matic. You can auto-generate captions. Now, I believe there's a slight payment for that feature, but it's quite minimal. I would like to say too, before we get much further, the tools we've illustrated here are just tools that we like, and you can use if you want, Edpuzzle and Screencast-O-Matic. I will note though that they're not licensed to the school, so they're external. So it's important to keep that in mind, because if you do encounter a technical difficulty, you have to go directly to their IT support. Centennial won't support that. However, later on in this presentation, we will look at briefly a Centennial-sponsored screen capture app called Media Site that Shyla will talk about in a little bit, that is supported by IT. So we're just sort of giving this presentation, trying to give you a lot of ideas and various tools that might help you in your practice. So moving on from that, I wanted to talk briefly around the idea of video and students creating video. So I think there's the next slide. If we could go to the next slide. There we go, perfect. So the idea here is we've been looking at teachers creating video or finding video. There's also the possibility of students creating video. And I just wanted to talk briefly to that and talk about some of the positives and challenges. And again, I'll say at the end of the day, it's your decision around what works best for your students. You know them better than anyone, but these are some things to consider. So it's a lot of positives to getting students to create video. It can, get them to be creative. They can meet the outcomes in different ways. You're not always giving the same type of assessment, of a paper or a test. They're able to demonstrate their learning in different ways. It can be motivating for students to be creative and to engage with video. Save class time. What I meant by that comment is sometimes video can take place of in-class activity. So before, I would have a course and a couple of the classes were devoted to student presentations. And that was great and all, but I thought, well, then maybe this can be done online. So I had students do presentations through video and posted to the discussion board, and questions and discussions happened around those presentations. And then in class, I still had that time to use to teach other content pieces. So that was in a more blended format, but those are ideas you can perhaps utilize. Also, the last point I thought about workplace skills. It's getting consistently more in-demand technology skills in the workplace under various amounts of jobs. So giving students the ability to work technology, to create things like video, to express their personality or their learning is an asset. Now, some challenges you might want to consider before asking students to create video. One is, are you going to take the time to teach it to them? So just like this session, there's a bit of a workaround using video. They might need to know some things about how to create effective video, and you might have to take the time to teach it to them. Technical difficulties, they're going to crop up. Think about how those will be addressed. Are you going to be sending them to the support help desk? Will you be troubleshooting those problems? Because by and large, most likely those students will be reaching out to you when they do encounter problems with video. So keep that in mind. Bandwidth data. So video can sometimes take up a lot of data, especially if it's a file. Like if you're downloading a video, they might have caps around the internet or their speed of the internet. Things like streaming might be easier. So it depends. It really depends on your students and what the capabilities they have around internet at their home. And then lastly, social discomfort. So there might be discomfort, technological discomfort about using a new tool. We often assume students are perhaps have a high aptitude at technology. That's not always the case. They might have it for certain aspects of technology, but educational technology, I find most students are unfamiliar with that and not well versed. So they might be uncomfortable using the technology. And then on top of that, they might actually have a lot of discomfort around being on video for their teacher or their classmates. So that might provoke some anxiety in them as well. So you really want to keep that in mind, that they might not feel comfortable. And, you know, is there options for them if that's the case? So those are, again, it's up to you, your decision around whether you want to use video or not, but these are some things to keep in mind. Now, on the note of using video and having a student created video, I think Erin has a bit more to say on that.
Thanks, Benjamin. So Flipgrid, I'm a big fan of Flipgrid because it offers a simple video-based discussion platform and it can be used on any device. With it, you can create grids of discussion style questions that students respond to through recorded videos. Microsoft recently acquired Flipgrid, and so now it's entirely free. Plus, it's a really safe and secure place for students to communicate. I've used Flipgrid as an end-of-course reflective activity and as an alternative to text-based discussions, which students can find a little bit tiresome, especially when they're overused. I really love that you can embed the grid directly inside your course so that students don't need to navigate outside of it in order to view and watch videos. And last week, Flipgrid just announced that there is a screencasting option within this tool for both you, the teacher, giving the prompt, and for students responding. I haven't checked it out, but I'm really keen to do so. And Flipgrid also allows you to create captions. In fact, those captions are auto-generated, and that's something that's really important for you to consider with any video. So I would encourage you to check this out. I am going to turn the microphone over to Shyla, who is going to talk to you about some eCentennial supported tools that I think you're going to find really interesting. Thanks, Shyla.
Hi, thank you, Erin. So I wanted to share with you a few tools that you have access to right here at Centennial, one of which Ben had mentioned, which is MediaSite. So this could be used as an alternative to Screencast-O-Matic that allows you to, you can download the desktop recorder and you'd be able to screencast with audio and or video. So that is available to you. Now, I just wanted to also mention that for those of you who are Mac users, it may work on some iOSs and it may not. So IT is looking into that and is trying to figure out a solution for that. So media site, I'm going to share this resource. At the end, we have a bunch of links available to you, and we're going to share that resource to you. And it's a login page for media site that is also in this document. And for media site, you would log in with your computer credentials. So whatever it is that you use to log in with your username and password to access the college computers, that's what you would use. The other name for it is Active Directory. So your Active Directory account will give you access to media site. So not only are you able to download the desktop recorder and record your screen, you could also just upload videos. So if you've created a video on your phone or through a webcam or whatever have you, you could upload those videos on media site and then embed them or share that link with your students on eCentennial. Video Note is another tool that you have access to right inside of eCentennial. So with Video Note, you're able to use your webcam and record yourself. So just as you had watched Mary Vallis record herself, you could do the same and infuse your personality into your courses. So Video Note can be used, and it's fairly easy to use. You basically launch it, you record yourself, and you just follow the prompts. The nice thing about Video Note is that you are able to generate closed captioning. So once you've recorded your video, it asks you, do you want to generate closed captioning and what language? And it will auto-generate those captions for you. Now, it may take a few more minutes. Your video will be recorded right away or made available to you right away, but your captions may take a little longer to generate. The next video tool available to you in eCentennial is the ability to embed videos. So you can embed your YouTube videos, you can embed videos from LinkedIn Learning, from your TED Talks, and anywhere you see this toolbar within eCentennial. It's called the HTML editor toolbar. So anywhere you see this toolbar within eCentennial, you're able to click on that first icon there that looks like a play button, and you would be able to embed a video or search for a YouTube video to embed right within your course. That icon there on the toolbar will also allow you to launch your Video Note as well. Oh, Margaret, actually, that's a great question. So what does embed mean? When you share a URL with your students or your colleagues, people would click on that and they would have to go to another window or another tab within the browser to actually see that information. With embed, oh, Margot, sorry about that, Margot. With the embed tool, you're able to add a video right within your course, and your students would just be able to click on the play button to play it right within the page. So they don't need to navigate elsewhere. They can view it directly within the page you've added your video into. Does that help to answer your question? Awesome. Sorry about that, Margot. So again, anywhere you see this HTML editor toolbar, you can click on that play button to either create a video note or embed a video. The other nice thing is that this HTML editor could be found in your discussions area as well. So for those of you who use the discussion forum and topics, this is a great place for your students to be able to create videos as well. Just as Aaron had mentioned, you can use this for discussions. Instead of having your students type text, they can add a video note and post a video there. Same with, you can find this toolbar in your assignment folder as well. So while you're evaluating your students' submissions, you can use this HTML toolbar and you can create a video note and provide your students with some formative feedback about their submissions. The quizzes tool also, when you're creating quizzes on eCentennial, you can embed videos, you can create a video note, and you can have your students watch something and then answer questions based on that particular video. So there's so many uses for your video note and the embed tool. And again, you have access to Media Site, which allows you to make those videos available, and then you can share them with your students. So these are the tools that are available that we would support institutionally to help you create and make videos available to your students. Over to you, Erin.
Thanks, Shyla. So there are lots of options for creating video. A suggestion would be to explore a couple that look intriguing and then go with one that you think will work the best for you, your students, and your content. We do have some video recording tips for you that will be shared at the end of this session, and they have been developed for you by a grad of the Film and Broadcasting program at the Story Arts Center at Centennial. So I think that you will find those to be valuable. We want to take a few moments just to see if you have any questions about some of the tools and strategies that we have talked about. So if you would like to post those in the chat window, or you could use your mic as well at this point, it's entirely up to you.
Hi everyone, this is Mitra. I'm an instructor in the School of Business. I don't know if this is the appropriate venue to ask this question, but I'll ask it and you can let me know if I should go somewhere else. I'm currently using Virtual Classroom to do my lectures, and I do tend to embed quite a few videos in my PowerPoint lectures. And I've been finding the past few weeks that students don't hear sound when I'm using Virtual Classroom to play embedded videos. Any suggestions for how to fix that?
Shyla, I'm not sure about that. Would you be able to respond? That would be great.
Yep, I was just, so with Virtual Classroom, depending on the equipment you have, your students may not be able to hear the sound. So what we recommend that you do is with Virtual Classroom, just copy and paste the URL to the video into the chat, have the students watch it, and then come and rejoin your session, just as we had done with this presentation. And and Mitra, would it be that you're sharing YouTube videos with your students?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you could just share that through the chat, again, let them watch it, and then just come back and let you know when they're done watching the video.
Okay, thank you.
There are a couple of questions in the chat, Erin. One from Michael Cooper. If I have permission from an artist to share information on video or images and I embed them into the course, is that then always available to anyone who teaches the course in the years to come? So with eCentennial, you have your own course shell. So anything you upload is visible to you and your students. So no one has the ability to go in and grab your stuff. So that is only shared with your students. Now you have the ability to delete anything in your courses if you've only received permission to use it to share it with your students. So you also have the ability to also go ahead and delete it from your course. Erin or Ben, did you have anything else to add to that?
I don't think so. I think it's a good question, though, Michael, just around ownership and so on of the content that we're posting into our course shells. And somebody might well share, like you say, a video just with us and not give permission to share it with other faculty. So I think it's important to protect that. And if you are passing on content to other faculty, to make sure that that is understood. And as Shyla said, you can simply remove it from your course shell before, potentially exporting content for somebody else. I hope that answers your question, Michael.
I also wanted to add that if you're going to just upload videos to East Centennial directly, students do have the ability to download it. So you may want to make it available through something like a media site or some streaming server where, you know, you just give certain permissions so that people are not able to download it and just view it. So that's just like a tip that I wanted to share with you.
Yes, on that note, I would add copyright's usually very specific to the rights of usage. So if it's limited to yourself in your classroom, then it wouldn't be able to be passed on. But I will say, if you have sort of intricate copyright issues, maybe you teach photography or something like that, where it's going to crop up again and again, I'd suggest you contact the Centennial College Library, and we have Shelby Stinnison, who is our sort of copyright librarian, and she is more than happy to answer specific questions related to copyright. We had another question here, Shyla, around MOV files and MP4 files not always working. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so basically when you're uploading videos tend to be large in size. So when you upload it, you know, students may have difficulty downloading it or playing with it. So what we do recommend that you do, again, is to make it available in some sort of a streaming server and then make it available to your students. So you could take your movie or MP4, upload it to something like Media Site, or even Stream is available to you through Office 365. So you'd be able to upload it and then embed or share the link to the video with your students. So again, if you would just upload these videos to a streaming server, that might help alleviate some of these download issues that you're experiencing.
Shyla, I have a question about MediaSite. Can you give students permission to upload the videos that they have created to MediaSite?
No, so MediaSite is only available right now to faculty. It's only available to faculty.
Okay. Something that I have done with videos is ask students to share them on Padlet. And Centennial College does have an institutional license for Padlet. Now, whether or not that works, again, is going to depend to some extent on the size of that file. And we can't require students to upload their videos to a public site like YouTube. So really something to think about before assigning that.
Other alternatives would be Office 365 as well. So if students wanted to upload it to their OneDrive account, they would be able to share that with the class or with the instructor. So that's another alternative, the Office 365 suite that's available to faculty and students.
I see a few other questions popping up in the chat window in this remaining minute from Will Wong around the copyright videos. It might seem long, but Shelby is very quick. Again, when using videos, you just want to see as much information as you can on the website. It's not like a one tab free to use. You have to sort of determine through the information whether it's able to use. And again, the library is quick though. And then we see comments around Google Drive, and then Joyce here talking about PowerPoint. So I'm a little conscious we're running out of time. So if you could, if you do have these remaining questions, if they're sort of technical in nature, I'd suggest you contact Shyla or IT in general. Or if you want to talk further with Aaron and myself, we're more than happy to do that. And we can be reached through the Centennial College mail service. So I think we're going to be wrapping it up today. I hope you found it of benefit, and you know, we're more than happy to chat further, and it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much to everyone for sharing your strategies as well. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
I've also shared a link to the resource that we've put together with all the links and information that we've shared with you in this presentation. So it's there for you in the chat. And thank you all.
Yes, and just to echo that, thank you everyone. I really appreciate your participation in this virtual session. It's been good, hearing your feedback and your questions and so on. In the meantime, take care and be well. Bye for now.